On this week's show, we're discussing everything revealed at this week's Nintendo Switch Direct, including some PlayStation exclusives coming to the Switch, Ubisoft shipping its top assets off in the wake of Assassin's Creed Shadow's success, and Warner Bros. Games casts the killing curse on Hogwarts Legacy. All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we get together to round up all of the week's video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. Just search for the GamerGuild Podcast or GamerGuild TV and you will find us there. Every Monday, 8 a.m, we go live with this show, rounding up all the juicy news. Your podcast players for the week are myself at Arcane Road, Chris, and my man of many pixels once again, and as ever present, Mr. Richie.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, indeed. And we do have a great show lined up for everyone, Richie, because, as I said, we've had a Nintendo Switch, we've got Ubisoft news, we've got some PlayStation stuff, and a good juicy bit of gaming meat to tuck into this week. So I'm looking forward to it. But before we get into it all, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and ring-a-ding-ding that bell so you're kept in the loop with all the great content we do here on the channel, like this very show, like our weekly live streams, like our retro looks backs. Richie's currently playing Pokemon Blue, and two episodes are exclusive to our GamerGuild Heroes right now. Lucky
so
sons
three
of bitches.
3 episodes in total. One's out for everyone. 2's out for GamerGuild Heroes. So I will say I am actually playing this on the emulator because Nintendo like to shoot themselves in the foot.
All feet.
Nintendo, if you let me play Pokemon Blue on the Switch, I will buy it. Or put it on Switch Online, which I am a member of. But since you don't, I am playing on emulator, and take a guess what controller I'm using when I'm playing.
A Nintendo 64 one.
No.
Switch.
Do you think it's this one?
No. Oh, this is a quiz. This is a quiz. Oh, a Google Stadia controller to rub salt in the wound. Wow.
Best PC controller I have.
Wow, I did not expect that. What a twist. What a twist. So nice to see the cameo from the Midnight Blue Founders Edition controller making a cameo.
Do you want to know why I've went for my Founders one? Because all my other ones are in a cupboard upstairs in a drawer. This one is actually on one of my shelves up there.
Yeah,
this one's part of the set, so it was the closest one to hand.
I've time capsuled all my Stadia stuff in our Stadia bags that they sent us when it first launched, with the badges, stickers, and all the memorabilia. It's all been time capsuled, and one day in the future I'll get it out and probably sell it on eBay. But I digress. So yes, we've got loads of content up on the channel. We've got, of course, Pokemon playthroughs. We've also got The Last of Us playthrough, which part 2 specifically, which myself and Richie are working our way through. We're reaching the end now, as we are on the cusp of the season 2 of the show beginning once again in about a fortnight or so's time. So keep it locked, keep it tuned so you're kept in the loop with all of that great content. But of course, you're not here for that. You're not listening along in your commute to work for that. You're here for all the juicy video game news, Richie. But we can't get into all that because we always start our show off by talking about what we've been playing at the moment. So aside from Pokemon, what have you been dabbling in out there in the gaming universe?
Pokemon.
Just Pokemon. A different Pokemon?
So I have been meaning to get back to Indiana Jones because I haven't played in over a week, and I probably will play quite a bit over the course of the weekend.
You've chosen poorly.
But because what's happened is I've been kicked off the TV since my girlfriend got Assassin's Creed Shadows.
That classic relationship problem.
Yeah, so I don't play. I hate playing my phone. Kishi's suck. So Indiana Jones, I've just put a pin in it, and she's away all weekend, so I'm going to get some good proper gaming in while she's away. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I want to sit with her while she's playing, because I was actually interested in watching her play Assassin's Creed Shadows. Yeah. So what can I play? And recently, I'm actually going and giving away my Switch to my sister from my nephews. Okay. And because my girlfriend bought the Switch OLED, the Zelda one, I've recently moved all my stuff over to that. So I was like, I'm going to play some Pokemon. So I've started Pokemon Violet again.
Ooh, that's is playing any better now? Now it's
really.
presumably been still after a year's worth of patches.
Not really. There's a few scenes where I've shown my girlfriend, like, you're in the classroom, you're like right at the start where it's going through the like 8 hour long tutorial.
Yeah.
Like that was really painful to get through. It really was. Come on, Game Freak, speed up your intros for Pokemon games. But like, there's like one or two characters in that classroom who are obviously important characters because they're like animated about 30 frames per second.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else is like 12. Like,
yeah,
it's in the overworld. It's not too bad. There's some slowdown, but to be honest, it just feel a bit janky. But I'm having fun.
Having fun. Maybe
I know what I'm expecting, so.
Maybe the Switch 2 will alleviate some of that pain. Because we do
hopefully
have a lot of that in today's show. Speaking of Indiana Jones, actually, while we're on the subject of it, did you see the trailer for the PS5 release of Indiana Jones this past week?
I didn't.
So it's well worth checking out. It is Troy Baker. It's like a live action advert. It's Troy Baker being interviewed by Nolan North. And obviously that's got deeper ramifications in the video. It's a proper video game advert. There's loads of... They're basically in like an antiquities room and they have a really good back and forth joking about... Nolan's just brought... He goes, we have limited time. He's like, a new office? I like it. He's like, yeah, just broke in an hour ago. We have to get out of here quick. And they have a really good back and forth where he gets his name wrong a couple of times jokingly. But he basically says you've been invited to a unique club of explorers and adventurers, and they go back and forth about what they prefer. And he's like, a trusty whip. He's like, I doubt that's ever useful. And he goes, always using it. He taps his head to say like, your brain, and quote unquote Nathan Drake says like, the trusty headbutt. And they go back and forth, like basically referencing two explorers. Then they talk about adventure and exploration. He basically reveals to him the box on the table, and it glows blue for the PlayStation. The Indiana Jones music kicks in, but it's like for me personally, Uncharted's my favorite franchise of all time, and Indiana Jones is one of my favorite movies of all time. And the games came out, and I'm a huge PlayStation fan. Seeing like these two just go back and forth, very witty banter. Theme tune kicked in, and it was just like, that is such a nerdy advert. Like it's only meaningful to people who understand who Nolan North is.
Do you feel like this idea came from Troy Baker when he's talking about what the advert's going to be? He's like, I know what I need to do here. I'm going to ring Nolan.
Yeah,
we're going to get him in.
See, the deeper meaning to all this, and why I put an even bigger smile on my face, is if anyone recalls, Nolan North and Troy Baker during lockdown started their own YouTube channel called Retro Replay, and they talk video games, and they went through and played together a couple of the Uncharted games. They began on The Last of Us, but then they had some kind of like falling out behind the scenes. The channel changed, the hands who looked after the channel, like the people behind the camera, it ended up getting sponsorships, almost like when a YouTube channel hits that size where it starts having outside influence rather than just two mates sat down talking and having a laugh.
It started as two mates sat down when it came to the business decisions. They couldn't agree what they wanted to do.
Yeah,
basically.
And obviously we know now Troy Baker, obviously busy man in the industry, Nolan North as well in terms of voice acting. And I feel like either jobs got in the way or life got in the way, and then it seemed to get a little bit fractured, and then the channel, one of them stopped doing it, Nolan kept doing it, but like they didn't interact, they didn't talk on socials anymore, and nobody's seen them in anything. So this was almost, for me, it was the internet. If you go look at the comments and such, it's almost like not only is it two great explorers and characters and voice actors together, but it's actually two best mates hanging out and being pals again on screen. And that was like a double smile on my face. So yeah, great advert. If you've not seen it, the acting and the timing for the comedy, and it's really, really good. So yeah, go check that out. And of course, PlayStation 5 getting Indiana Jones in just under a month now. But it's interesting again, Xbox game literally being marketed. It gets its own unique PlayStation advert that will have needed a whole marketing department, and to have like even just a blue light in an advert is so like non-Xbox. But as we get into the news for this week's show, you'll see like the barriers and the walls between console exclusives and console video games is it's virtually non-existent in 2025. Like it really isn't. Good. It's great for consumers, and
whatever makes you the happiest.
Absolutely, the motto of our channel here. But yeah, I've not really been playing much, Richie, other than kind of powering through Assassin's Creed now. So much like your girlfriend, I'm sure many members of the audience, I'm really just getting to that Assassin's Creed groove now. I'm going checkpoint to checkpoint, outpost to outpost, assassinating bitches left, right, and centre. And I just feel absolutely powerful. I will say, to get the most fun out of this, go into the settings, turn on instant assassination mode. So if you come across so the level similar to when you've played Origins and such in the past, the map's broken out in, as you'll know, difficulty areas. So if you get to a base and you're like level 5, but the shinobi in that base is level 10, and you stab him in the neck, that will not kill him. And then you have to have this fight, everyone's alerted in the castle, shit pops off. If you turn on instant assassinations, as would happen in real life, if you stab someone in the neck, they go down. No matter what level they are, their artery has been severed, they are dying in a pool of their own blood. So yeah, it makes the game just so much more fun. So it almost encourages stealth, where if you're tactical, if you scout it out, if you do the assassin part of the game, you can wipe out the whole base of top-level enemies without having to get into some awkward like melee where people are alerted, people come flooding in the castle, gets out of hand.
I get watching it. Mm-hmm. To be honest, I think it's amazing. I can't wait to actually get my hands on myself. It's definitely pretty much next up in line for the next big game I'm going to play. Mm-hmm. But there is a few things where I almost feel like they're stuck between two ideas and what the game could be, which I think they've done execute well with the two characters.
Yep.
Where you can see that they want a big part of them wants to return to this being a proper Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah,
because now it seems to be the main character.
That's who.
More than Yasuke.
Yeah, that's definitely. I haven't got back to Yasuke still because even though we spoke about last week, is you get to play as both of them, and then it kind of doubles down on Naoe's story. Because I'm having so much fun with Naoe, I'm just kind of exploring the map and clearing it. Like I haven't really had a reason to push the actual main campaign on yet, because I'm happy doing side stories, little side tasks, clearing the area, clearing the map, exploring just little side quests, and I'm getting fulfillment from that. So it's almost going to be quite jarring, I feel, when I get back to Yasuke and I'm like, oh, this guy's just a big brute and he's not stealthy or nimble.
So I have seen Nat play as Yasuke a bit, and she says he's very good in certain situations. If you just kind of, she uses them occasionally, you know, how you find some random people like almost boss-like level characters wandering in the wilderness.
Yeah, indeed.
One-on-one fights like that, he is quite good. Mm-hmm. But because his stealth is kind of crap, he can't climb as well. He doesn't have his grapple to scale buildings. Yeah. And because there's a lot of overhanging walls, he struggles a lot and he's a bit slow and sluggish. It feels like the existence of his character, other than narrative reasons, is there for the people who like Assassin's Creed to just be another open-world action RPG.
Yeah. If you want to play it as just a warrior.
If you want to play an Assassin's game, now is the way to go. And it feels like they've done a nice way of integrating both play styles. But I do like the idea of the instant assassinations.
Yeah. Because
it feels like just an action game when if I can't assassinate someone properly, then what's the point?
Yeah.
But I'm going to remember that one. I'm going to mention it in that and tell it to turn it on.
It's got, like, again, I just feel like I've really gotten in my stride now. When I get a castle, I do the proper Assassin's approach. Tag everyone, look at the entry points, look at the exits, map my way to take them out silently, crawl and crouch and hiding around. And I'm able to clear full bases without being spotted. And even when you do, you got the quick, like, shuriken throw, take them down, and it's like, I'm just really in the groove now. I've got a couple of hours under my belt.
There's definitely still a bit of jank in the parkour that I've seen.
Oh yeah, yes.
But I'd tell me an open world game that doesn't have a bit of jank stuff. Like Horizon Zero Dawn has stuff like that where
it does.
It's not game breaking, and I am excited for an Assassin's Creed game.
Wow. And so you should be. The Ubisoft posted earlier this week as well. It's sold over 3 million players or something in 24, 48 hours. So it's smashing numbers. I think it finished second in terms of overall sales or players compared to Valhalla. So it's not quite Valhalla, but Valhalla was Ubisoft's biggest thing ever. So again, I think with all the criticism and the politics around Ubisoft at the moment, coming just short of Valhalla's probably really good for the bottom line right now.
It's interesting that Valhalla is sold so well, because I think generally speaking, if you ask 10 people, at least half of them would say it's the weakest of the remake of the new trilogy. Yeah,
I think it probably did better because Odyssey was a lot of people's favourite, and I think going into Valhalla with the energy Odyssey brought, it almost had like a bit of an extra wave it was riding, and then by then everyone's bought it and playing it anyway. So, and to be fair, Viking and Viking mythology has been really big in pop culture for probably the last decade, so it probably had a bit of an uplift from that too.
Not really an Assassin's Creed game though, is it?
No, not really.
I had a lot of fun with it. I played like 80, 90 hours, but it's not an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah. But we digress, of course, because we do have a busy show, ladies and gentlemen. Go check out all of our streams. The Last of Us is up there, Pokemon's up there, as I said. And there are first looks for Assassin's Creed if you're looking for that kind of thing. And, of course, we'll be back playing stuff this Thursday. So do join us, do check it out. We do appreciate seeing our members in the chat, keeping us ticking over. But, Richie, we can't get into the next part of the show until you introduce us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, a.k.a. The News.
The News. And as always, the news is brought to you by our wonderful guild heroes, the fantastic members who support the channel that extra little bit further, just like you can, by clicking join below on YouTube or heading over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@GamerGuildTV, and you can join us from as little as 99p, get extra special stickers and badges next to your name in said live chats, and of course, you get to make us happy. You get to make us smile because, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, our tax bill is due. Yes, we pay tax for this YouTube channel and we get stung every year by the old government. So do help us out. If you're one of those dirty freeloaders out there, head over to YouTube, give us a like, give us a super chat. Do whatever you want to support a small crew making independent podcasts for over 5 years. We do appreciate it.
And you will get 2 episodes of Pokemon Blue. Maybe more
will.
by the time this weekend's out.
Yes, you will. And Clickercast episodes. They're still there in the wings waiting. But, Richie, we're here to talk about the penultimate Nintendo Direct that stealth dropped, in fact. We only got 24 hours notice for this thing before next week's Nintendo Direct. Or actually, we should say, at the time of this show going live, it's tomorrow. The Nintendo Switch 2's big ultimate reveal, that presumably based on leaks, pre-orders, price, presumably big first-party games are all going to be revealed. This time next week, we'll know it all. So next week's show is going to be an absolute banger as well, because we're going to have a ton of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we're probably not going to live react to it as well, just in case you're wondering, because Nintendo will almost certainly put it about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
That's time zone stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I'm also down in the capital, so I'm not available for live reactions anyway. But we'll get to it in the podcast. But what we did get as part of this stealth drop is basically a ton of game news, a couple of little snippets, some interesting Nintendo decisions, as we always see. And this, for me, was them basically clearing their slate ahead of next week. Like, just anything they've got maybe contractual obligations for, any things they need to talk about, anything that maybe makes next week's presentation a little bit too ballooned and fluffed out. I think get it all in here, get it out the way, take a deep breath, ready for next week. Because what you don't want is, like, if you're Dragon Quest 1 and 2, which is the first game we'll go to, is you don't want to get caught up in all of the main Switch news, because even on a Nintendo page, you're going to get bumped right down that news ladder so quickly. So I think it's quite a tactical direct, this one.
Yeah. What I think it is, they've decided to do 2 directs. One, everything that is still coming to Switch, let's get that out there. Yeah. You may see, it's possible, you might see some double dipping for Switch 2.
Oh, yes.
But there again, we know Switch 2 is backwards compatible. So say, take Dragon Quest 1 plus 2 HD, 2D remake.
Yes.
That is playable on the Switch and the Switch 2. We already know that. You might not see any improvements. What I think you will see from the Switch 2 stuff is, let's say they do, hypothetically, a Breath of the Wild remaster for Switch 2. That's the sort of stuff you'll see.
I can see that happening.
Yeah.
Keep Zelda at the forefront. But let's get into it then. So we won't go into every game. There was a bit of filler, let's face it. There wasn't a lot of AAA stuff, and a lot of stuff didn't, unfortunately, get dates. Most likely because we'll get them next week. But yeah, they kicked off the event with a Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake trailer, showcasing a compilation of 2 of the most classic NES RPGs, boasting the same stunning visuals that you've seen in the remake for Dragon Quest 3 that came out, I think it was last year, maybe the back end of last year or the year before.
Yeah, last year.
That's coming in 2025. Now, of course, this is from Square. We've seen them do this before with many other titles. It seems to be their bread and butter at the moment. What's your history with Dragon Quest, Richie? Because these are the titles that I look at and go, like, this is a Richie-ass game.
So I've only played one Dragon Quest game. It actually was on Stadia.
Wow, which one?
Coincidentally, that was Dragon Quest 11S, Echoes of an Elusive Age.
Oh, yeah. I forgot they were even the same franchise.
Yeah, so because there was a bunch of like RPGs that came to Stadia during the Stadia years, I managed to dip my toe into a few different franchises, which I was aware of and never played. So Dragon Quest was one of them, and I love that game. You can play that game in full 3D or in 2D. I only played it in the 3D mode, and now Stadia's gone. I don't actually own the game. My girlfriend does though, so I could actually go play it. I've got access to it, so don't worry. But the weird one for me was when they were doing the HD2 remakes, is that they started with free. So it's like, it's one of them moments. Like, you go, I know they're not necessary. Like, it's like Final Fantasy. It's not a continuation of the same story, but it's like, why are you going back to the oldest games and not starting at one? So I never got round to playing Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D. It's on my wish list on PlayStation. I'm very much keeping an eye on it, and on Amazon. I think Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D is going to go into my wish list. I'm going to be keeping an eye on things like when it comes out, what's the price, how busy I am, and
it seems logical, right?
A game I want to play, and now I want to start with 1 before I go into 3.
Yeah, and they look great as well. Yeah. That 2D, 3D visually, it's like very like Octopath Traveler, I think, kicked that off, that style.
Yeah, and then there's been Octopath 2, there's been Triangle Strategy, Dragon Quest 3.
The Final Fantasy pixel remakes kind of have that vibe to them as well, right?
Yeah. It's just this HD 2D thing. It's where it's actually, I think, the 3D models that look like 2D sprites.
Yeah. Look good though. Look very colourful, interesting story, and again, totally like you and me with the Resident Evil situation, everything like that. As soon as you package it 1, 2, and even 3, like the fact that the logo is like the same font, the same layout, it's like there's something visually appealing to my persona where it's like, I just like the collection and the consistency throughout it. One of the
musically as well, there's same music, like interpretations of same themes throughout the series.
Yeah, can you remember? I know, like, a small aside, remember when everyone used to have the Simpsons DVDs, like the collections when we were teenagers, like season 1, season 2, when they first started packaging them, and there was like cardboard, like thick, double thick border boxes. They went like 1 through maybe 7, 8, and it was like just different colors. Every season was just a slightly different color, different box art on the front, and it had like 8 discs inside it. And then I think they got to season 12, maybe one of them, and they changed the packaging to a plastic Homer Simpson head. And it was like literally shaped like his head. So it was no longer a rectangle DVD box. It was plastic. It popped open. The lid wouldn't always close. The discs were laid out differently inside. Could you imagine your shelf layout? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then a random Homer plastic head in white and yellow. And then they went back to 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 as the box ones. Like, it's infamously frustrating for collectors.
It's if you're a collector and you've got your things on your shelf, what you want is that consistency.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, you'll have the PlayStation logo at the top of the spine. Sometimes it's different sizes. It's like, it's painful. And I don't even have my games on display.
Oh, it is so painful. I'll get a visual for the folks at home, but just to show like how irritatingly annoying that Simpsons thing is. But yeah, in terms of the collections, it is just that, like, it's nice. It's nice to have everything together.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can see it, but it's painful.
See, the thing is, although this has actually first been announced in a Switch as Nintendo Direct, I think I want this on PlayStation.
Get them trophies.
Trophies, also Portal.
Oh yes, true. Oh yes. Nice.
I know I've said this can almost certainly be played on the Switch too, but I feel like I just would personally prefer this on the Portal.
Yeah, well, a lot of stuff releasing across, like as we said at the top of the show, across platforms now. We got a few of the games release announcements. The AI, the Somnium File series returns. No idea what that is. No Sleep for Kaname Date. Again, it's like a lot of games. I always look at some and think that's so Japanese. It's beyond my comprehension.
Yeah.
Atlas showed off Redo Remastered, which again, similar thing. It's a random detective in a random anime world. So again, no disrespect to them. I just think knowing our audience and the type of people that we are, it's so far outside our wheelhouse. I don't think we have to worry too much about it.
It's got my attention purely because it's Atlas, and I do like Atlas games, and it's a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei series, which Persona is a spin-off of.
Yep, absolutely.
So it's in that area.
that vibe. We got another trailer for Shadow Labyrinth, which, again, I'd completely forgotten what this game was until I remembered it was that Metroidvania with Pac-Man, if you recall. It has like the actual 3D Pac-Man ball in like a Neo-style world. It looks like it's going to be a really good Metroidvania. It just, when you look at it, it's almost just missing that polish that I think we've came to expect from a lot of really well-done Metroidvanias in recent years. It almost, actually to a degree, to go back to Dragon Quest, it's almost like that 2D, 3D. It's just missing that extra layer of depth that makes a game look almost like, the best way to try it, I guess, is a AAA 2D game.
It doesn't, the art style doesn't stand out.
No, it's quite flat. All of it's quite flat. Which I think back in a pixel era was fine, but I think, we've came to such a, like, again, Prince of Persia Lost Crown did it beautifully. And I don't know if I can't recall which is the studio that makes this, but it just seems to be lacking that little bit of polish, which it's unfortunate because the concept of Pac-Man being in a 2D Metroidvania instead of just going up and down collecting dots and cherries is quite something interesting. But alas, we'll see more of that.
I know what you mean by flat. I know, although it is a 2D side scroller,
yes.
You do want to feel like it's a 3D world. You want to feel like there's depth there.
Yeah, I mean, even Sonic used to do it, right? Back in '92 with like
with parallax scrolling,
everything.
Which this game almost certainly has, but I don't know. Just like the backgrounds feel like backgrounds rather than what's off to the side of the character.
Absolutely. We did get a couple of other things. DS farming games, Story Seasons came out. There was quite a lot of cozy games in this, which is very Nintendo at the moment. Disney Villains Curse Cafe got a shadow drop, which looks like a 2D card game. You get Disney villain characters and they're running a cafe. Witchbrook was another one they showed off, which is a life sim where you learn spells at an academy for witches and you find friends and make true love. And it kind of just repeated itself a couple of times over. We got a trailer for Gradius Origins, which was one that really, when I saw it, it actually took me aback because I've never played a Gradius game, but I've heard of it being like resounding success in the past. And
you must have played one in like a weird on holiday.
In an arcade.
Get like a single arcade cabinet.
Absolutely, like but what really shocked me just watching the trailer was like the left or right scrolling ones. They're basically zeroing, which is the Sega game that I absolutely adore as a kid. The soundtrack's epic. It actually used to be our outro music during live streams. And everything I saw was like, even like the collectibles and the changing of your weapon types and the ammo. I was like, this is basically just zeroing. How have I not seen this before? And I even did some like research into, was zeroing like the prototype that then evolved into Gradius 1, 2 or vice versa. No connection. They've obviously got like similarities, but but then again, the art style back then was limited to 16-bit at the time. So, looks really good. It's maybe one that if it came in a deal or was on PlayStation Plus, I'd definitely check it out and have a really good laugh with it. Ever played a Gradius game yourself?
I don't know. I think I probably have played bits of one without even realizing what I'm playing. I've never consciously sat down to play. Did we get some stuff for Stadia? Wasn't like what was it? Was it like a Capcom? No, it was like an Atari remaster thing.
Centipede, we got one. There was a couple that were very similar in style.
It feels like that kind of category of game.
It does. But we got a couple of other things announced. The one I really wanted to kind of hone in on though, Richie, and the one that made me pop straight away, was we got Patapon 1 and 2 Replay, which is coming out on the 11th of July. Now, the reason this one has extra significance, I don't know if you picked it up when you watched it on your own. Patapon 1 and 2, these are PlayStation games.
Yes,
these are PlayStation Portable exclusives.
Yeah. Did Patapon ever make it to the Vita?
No. So these are PSP exclusives that are getting a remaster, and they're coming to the Switch. And now, interesting enough, the trailer even has a watermark in the bottom corner saying licensed by Sony Interactive Entertainment. So again, very reluctant to put PlayStation on this branding. If you remember when we got Horizon Adventures just before Christmas, that too said Sony Interactive Entertainment, not PlayStation. So there's definitely something where they're not willing to brand themselves on rival platforms.
So I feel it's like they don't want to use the PlayStation Studios branding, although they probably wouldn't use that for Patapon anyway because it is developed by Bandai Namco.
But the originals were made by Studio Japan, who now essentially are the Astrobot team.
Oh, okay.
So like it was published by Sony originally. This version is published by Bandai Namco. But yeah, the original was made by Studio Japan, which then ended up folding into Asobi, who made Astrobot. So it's very much a first-party PlayStation game. It's just been published, the remaster anyway, because it is coming to PlayStation. We should point out it's not a Nintendo exclusive. But yeah, it's I saw it and I was like, Patapon? Or Patapon, as you should accurately say.
Is PlayStation starting to play nice with Nintendo more and more? Do PlayStation now looking at Nintendo going, we're not direct competitors.
Mm-hmm.
This is a way of getting the software, which, if this was a PlayStation exclusive, probably wouldn't do the numbers they would like.
Mm-hmm.
Bandai want to do a remake of it. Let's put it on the Switch as well.
Yeah, and it's made for the Switch because it was PSP originally. So the format, the layout, the minimal buttons and input prompts, they translate the Switch. It's colourful, it's bright, it's got music to it. So that kind of young audience that they're going for, it's almost perfect. So. Yeah.
Well, the original Patapon, interestingly, the Metacritic, because it was on the PS4 as well as the PSP, 86 out of 100. I'm reading this from Wikipedia, so not sure when the dates were on the PSP. PS4, 72. Exact same game. But I think the handheld version of the game just works better.
Yeah. That's what it was originally designed for, right? Oh, yeah. It got the remaster for PS4, didn't it?
2020, Wikipedia pulled them scores.
Not bad.
But
so
we're talking about a moment at a time, though, so it's probably not shifting much.
Absolutely. So a great get on that one. But yeah, it's breaking down the barriers a little bit. We had Lego Horizons. Now we've got Patapon. Don't think we'll really see any Nintendo games go the other way. But again, I think this is that new world we live in where Sony and Microsoft are just looking over the fence and going, there's a big audience over there. If we can just swallow our pride a little bit, port something over, it's quite cheap to do. So it's almost pure profit getting it over there.
I wonder if what Sony are doing is when they've got an IP that the original studio is no longer interested in. Mm-hmm. So in this case, Patapon, Japan Studios no longer interested in Patapon. They're focused on Astrobot. Well, the team is Asobi now anyway.
Yeah.
Same thing applies. Are they defaulting after a period of time back to SIE?
Possibly.
So it might just be a routine, a normal line in pretty much all the contracts where you have whatever studio's working on, you have exclusive rights to that franchise. But let's say if you haven't done anything in 10 years, it defaults back to SIE.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like if you told us like all the games that we've touted time and time again on this show, I'd love to see back. I'm more than happy for PlayStation, Sony to license them out to some quality developers to breathe fresh air into the franchise, or rather than it sit dormant for decade after decade, do something with it. And I think, putting these type of games on in other areas to test the water, if anything, I wouldn't be surprised if Patapon sold more copies on Switch than it would do on PlayStation, just because of the audience demographic.
Easy.
So
if you're thinking about this as a portable game predominantly, you're talking the numbers of Switches versus the number of PS Portals.
Yeah.
Which is winning.
Crazy stuff, right?
They might have more love from the old PSP crowd. But I think the Switch will take over very quickly.
Interesting. Yeah. A lot of PSPs out there in the wild, though. So that's for certain. The second game I want to get onto, which is kind of a double hit from this, is we're getting Everybody's Golf Hot Shots. And again, kind of to go back and give you a little bit of history for those who don't know much about the history of Hot Shots Golf, or I should say Everybody's Golf, is rewind the clock, Richie, back to the 90s. A company were brought on board called Camelot Software to make this for the original PlayStation 1. It was called Everybody's Golf in the world, except for America, where it was called Hot Shots Golf in North America. So there's always been this bit of brand confusion a little bit where some people don't think they're different games, but it's basically Everybody's Golf to us in the EU and Hot Shot Golf to everyone in the US. This is kind of the amalgamation of those brands now because it's called Everybody's Golf Hot Shots. So it's like a really clever tactical way of just bringing them both together. It's like Resident Evil Biohazard. It's like that kind of like tactical move to just get it all back on the same page. But yeah, Everybody's Golf, as I said, Camelot Software, for those who maybe aren't familiar with those developers, they made the first one for PlayStation 1, and that was the only one they ever made, even though we've had about 12, 15 Hotshot Golfs in Everybody's Golf since then. Care to hazard a guess if you've not done any research into what Camelot Software went on to make after the first game?
I've recognised this name in the studio. That's
oh, you should. Mario Golf. And Mario Tennis.
Mario Golf.
This studio...
I was going to go a different way. I was going to go completely different.
This studio, since the PlayStation, have been making every Mario Golf game you love and every Mario Tennis game you love, right up to the 2 that came out on the Switch recently. And that's the weird delineage of like Nintendo history, PlayStation history. Back in the 90s, like made an exclusive for PS1. It was amazing. PlayStation owned the IP, and then they went, hey, can you make us a Mario version of that game? And then they've just gone, what? Separate ways.
It might have literally been a case of, after it came out, Nintendo approached them, make a Mario version.
Yep.
And so there might have even been talk to make Camelot to making Everybody's Golf 2. But if then they're under contract by Nintendo to make Mario, which is going to be the more lucrative?
Mm-hmm.
Very clearly, the Mario one wins.
Yeah. It's
nothing against Everybody's Golf, but
yeah, and then
Mario in any fight, Mario usually wins.
Yeah, and classic Nintendo style. The reason like you might have heard of the dev but probably haven't is because it's buried within like legal. You don't really. It's produced by Nintendo, not by Camelot Software. So it's like Camelot Software something publishing maybe. I think it's got a proper like corporate name. And weirdly enough, they're based
Camelot
in
Software Planning.
Yeah, and weirdly it sounds like a construction company. And then weirdly enough, they're based in Japan. They're not a British studio. Which when you hear Camelot, I just presume they would be UK based. But yeah, they're based in Japan. So again, for that Mario kind of PlayStation history, yeah, 1997 since the first one. So yeah, and I guess when you watch the trailer, it is pretty much just Mario Golf, but you're playing with like humanized characters as opposed to tiny plumbers and, and giant turtle monsters. But yeah, it comes with all like kind of sorts of new modes. But everyone loves a golf game, don't they?
And somehow they're not owned by Nintendo. Nintendo haven't really got into the whole buying up studios thing. They seem to have like almost exclusive deals with them. It's like, you're going to make all the Mario Golf and all the Mario Tennis games.
Yeah.
But we're not going to buy you.
Just keep working together. But then it's definitely like a weird full circle story now because Everybody's Golf Hot Shots is on Switch. So you've now got Origins started on PlayStation, and then here they are now. You've got a PlayStation game, for all intents and purposes, being released on Nintendo platforms once again. So yeah, that and Patapon, double punch here of essentially PlayStation exclusives coming to other platforms. So yeah, it makes for an interesting kind of something that I didn't expect to see in a Nintendo Direct. And yeah, interesting little bit of history there. Anything else you want to pick out, particularly from the Nintendo Direct, Richie? Any more big titles to touch on? We got a couple of updates for some Switch games.
We should try and understand. There's no other games that really jumped out to me personally.
I guess we should address the
Higher Life has gone to Switch. That's worth noticing. Pokemon Legends ZA got another trailer, but to be honest, I don't think after watching that trailer, I don't know any more about the game.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a nothing trailer. I feel like it was in there because I don't know why it was in there. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond gets a new trailer, and it looks exactly like I'd expect a Metroid Prime game to look. Yeah. Which is a good thing.
But no dates on all this, right? And again, we can say this now because Sod's Law, 24 hours after the show goes live on Monday, Tuesday's Direct will have... It's coming, it's a launch game, this is the date for it, in line with the Switch too.
Prime 4 and Pokemon, I am almost certainly expecting to hear date after we know the date for the Switch 2. I think that might be why we're not getting dates.
Yeah, well,
things like Dragon Quest being third party could fall into the same category,
Mm-hmm.
but also could just be a case of Square don't quite know and they're only committed to 2025.
Yeah, we've had a few leaks actually come out over the last couple of days of suggesting that Best Buy in Canada, I believe, shout out to our friend John Scar. Not that he was the leaker, but I know he works there as a reviewer. The leaks apparently saying pre-orders are going up pretty much next week, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's the announcement and then immediate pre-orders, similar to like how Apple and stuff do it now. And then with a release date in and around June time. So I'm thinking Pokemon probably back into the year, late November, as per tradition.
It's usually usually around my birthday. It's usually around mid-November, 17th. It's quite often a Pokemon game.
And then you're going to lock in probably, as you said, a couple of remasters to launch with, probably a Zelda, and then we're expecting Mario Kart, right, for launch day.
Mario Kart probably launch. I'm going to go as far as saying the Switch 2 Direct starts with a proper trailer for Mario Kart rather than just a teaser. Yeah,
I suspect as much as well. And a couple of bits more information. But yeah, they eventually kind of got away from the games and went into your typical Nintendo. They brought Miyamoto out as well, which usually when Miyamoto gets out there now, he's not there to talk about games. It's usually the theme parks or the movies or as like the big head honcho. But then, they pivoted and started talking about two, I guess, business decisions in the middle of his game reveal trailer in typical Nintendo fashion. They did the whole, please be happy or please be surprised, or they always instruct you in their interesting translation model. But they got into two things, and I guess we'll start with the digital game cards, right? Or virtual game cards, as they're referring to it. Now, I just got confused. The more I listened to this breakdown, I get what it's saying, but the bit in the video didn't really make much sense. Do you want to give some clarity to how you've interpreted it for our audience?
So my interpretation of this is, at the moment on the Nintendo console, if you buy a digital game, it's locked to your account. Nothing much you can do about that. Mm-hmm. Unless I think you can play if you have two. I'm not actually sure.
It's like a share. Yeah, I think your account's logged into two devices.
If I'm going to have to test after this video and let people know in the Discord how it works, because I've got the digital version of Smash Bros. If I log on my girlfriend's account, can I access my digital copy of Smash Bros?
I don't think so.
On the same console.
All right, I see what you mean. Yeah,
because we're both on the same software. I don't know if it works, but hypothetically, you own a Switch, I own a Switch. If I wanted to lend you Smash Bros, I just can't. Can't be done.
Yeah. To be fair, you couldn't with PlayStation or Xbox either. So.
Yeah, but if I had the card version, I could just go, there you go, Chris. You plug that in, off you have fun. Mm-hmm. What I believe the virtual cards is doing is allowing you to do that with the digital version, where you effectively, any digital software, you get a virtual game card. Yep. So if I'm using it, that's now bound to my account, but I can lend you that digital game card so you can play my digital version, which while you have it means I can't play.
Yeah, so just like if I took your cartridge, you couldn't play it because I have the cartridge.
That's, I think, what they're trying to get to.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's explained that well.
Yeah, it says you can share in your family, so I'm guessing they have to be part of your wider Nintendo family. You can have up to 6 people or 8 people, I believe, as part of your family group. And you can only loan them for 14 days, so there is a time limit on it, which I'm guessing after the 14 days, it doesn't explain it in the video, like you can just loan it straight back to them.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to complete Zelda in 14 days.
I can only lend you one card at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I can only lend it to you for 14 days. I don't know how long I can wait before I lend you another game, or
can you lend me your entire library?
Can I lend the same game to you again?
Yeah. It looks like you can lend out to different people. So on the advert, it shows you can dish out 3 different games to 3 different Switches. So this is like mum or dad can dish it out to 3 kids separately. So mum and dad buy the game, I guess, and then they distribute to whomever they wish. I feel
the idea of the 14-day thing is a thing to make things slightly awkward logistically. Because if it's within your family group, it's not that big of a deal. If me and you were in a family group, you could go, Richie, Zelda, Smash Bros. It's reverted back to you. Can you ping it back to me?
Yeah.
That's not a big deal. But if it's to stop, I think, people trying to trade digital games.
Yeah,
It's
give me
digital
a
rights management.
tenner and I'll give you the game, and then they're like, oh, they took it back. Like, how
By
does that
having
work?
that small piece of relative pain in how it can handle with the 14-day revision
Yeah.
would probably stop people actually trading the shit online.
Now, what I'd like to really know is, does the main primary account holder have the ability to just recall the game at any time? Like, can I give it to you and then go, actually, you know what? I'd like to play it now, Richie. Recall, and you're mid-game and it just goes, primary account users claim the digital game back, and you're like, oh, shit.
I think the answer should be yes, but not while you're playing. If you're actively playing the game, maybe you should get a notification saying it's going to be recalled. And maybe, for me, ideally, then you have a timer.
Yeah. Interesting.
So it's like, you get a notification, you're playing the game, you're sat there playing Smash Bros. Pops up, goes with a notification, Richie wants to recall the game. You now have an hour to stop playing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, gone.
Yeah, it's like knocking on your mate's door, speaking to the mum, going, he won't give me my game back. Which, funny story about Rob, actually, on the channel. Me and Rob swapped Sega Mega Drive games way back in the day, to a point when it had been so long we forgot we even owned each other's games, because you'd obviously move on and stop playing them. And I think eventually it was like, oh, do you want your game back? And I went back and he couldn't find the game that I'd lent to him. So we didn't end up swapping them back. And I think years later he was like, yeah, I lost it. Like, he admitted years later, like, totally just lost it, got buried in toys and whatever you had back then as a kid.
I think I borrowed what was it, Star Wars Rogue Squadron off Rob, and for whatever reason, I don't think I ever give it back to him. I still have it.
Thief.
I still have it, and I have offered it back to him, and I think he just said no at that point. It was one of them. I just completely forgot. You know, when you just as a kid you completely forget you have it, and then you don't see it for like 10 years.
Yeah, it happens.
It was one of them.
It happens in real life with real kids. But the virtual game card recollection would hopefully stop that. And then moving on, Nintendo then moved on to introducing another Nintendo app to us all, which was the Nintendo Today app, which it's not a game. It's very much an app that's going to be available. Actually, it's available now on Android and iOS. And Miyamoto showed up to reveal the app, which he's advised us that to stay up to date on all Nintendo news and keep track of future events, they switch to Direct next week. The app will deliver news on the highly anticipated console daily. So essentially, this is the Nintendo version of Twitter for all intents and purposes. It's a constant scrolling feed of Nintendo news.
It's a Nintendo News app, that's all it is.
Yeah.
I have downloaded it. I haven't looked at it yet.
Right. It's an interesting state of the world we live in where Nintendo need their own app, but I guess also with the volatility of things like Twitter right now and social media in general, Nintendo's such a family-centric, like, quaint company. Just having somewhere that's not totally cluttered with outside interference is probably, from their standpoint and the way they usually manage their business, it's something they can control, right? He's the switch, he's the message.
Controlling the message.
No
it's
memes.
The messaging.
Yeah, all the accurate information.
You're not getting it coloured by some talking heads on a stupid podcast on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
You're just getting it direct from Nintendo via their
Direct.
App. And they seem to be liking their mobile apps at the moment. Nintendo.
Yeah, we got music. Which I saw this week. They've released another couple of songs. It's
Nintendo.
weird. Do you know that
unify them?
They're still not dropping all of the songs at one time for like game soundtracks. They drop like 6 songs and then go, the next 6 will come in the next lot. It's like, dude, imagine if Spotify did that. Here's a new album from the biggest artist in the world. You get 6 now. You get 6 in a few more months.
Right, Nintendo, are you listening? You have the chance now, before this gets out of hand and you end up with 500 apps, unify it into a single app. I just want one Nintendo app. You can have Nintendo Today in there, you can have Nintendo Music, you can have the Switch stuff in there, have your storefront in there. All in one app. Just one app. One. That's all it is. One app.
Yeah, don't do a Google and end up with like 1,000 different apps and end up shuttering half of them. Just fold them into one. I agree. And that was pretty much it. We got a couple other games. Tomodachi Life has returned for the second one, Living the Dream, which is weird. We got a cool look at Marvel Cosmic Invasion, which is the Doetamu people who made the Ninja Turtles game. Them doing a Marvel fighting game looks really cool. Ports of Monument Valley 1, 2, and 3, which are the mobile iOS games, which have won loads of awards. They're getting ported over. Saga Frontier 2's got a remaster. So there was a lot of stuff announced, but as you said, a lot of a lot of filler that's maybe not for our audience, or we don't really have time to talk about every single game today. But yeah, overall thoughts on the direct.
There's some stuff I'm interested in. A lot of stuff I'm not interested in. Some interesting business moves. I think it's a very fine
Did its job.
direct. It had a job to do. I think it delivered. I think this is a solid 7 out of 10. There's nothing major in here. Nothing overly exciting. The bigger things, Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon Z-A, felt a bit underwhelming because we didn't learn too much more about the games. We didn't get a release date. The new app. There was a huge story that came with the new app, which we'll tackle in the later story. But so Nintendo, they do sometimes know how to launch an app.
Yeah.
But yeah, solid, if not, but not exceptional.
Not exceptional. And speaking of non-exceptional, let's move on to our second story of the week. Ubisoft. It is harsh, but I needed a segue. On the back of Assassin's Creed Shadows' launch and success, Ubisoft have made the business decision, which we've talked about rumours and speculation in recent weeks on the podcast. Ubisoft have officially announced that they are spinning off Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six into a new subsidiary in partnership with Tencent. In a complicated corporate move, they're essentially creating an in-house subsidiary, and the important IP seemingly is moving across. The new company, valued at €4 billion, will receive a 1.16 billion cash injection from Chinese giant Tencent, who now will own a 25% stake in the organisation in return. In a statement, Ubisoft said the move was down to assisting to drive further increase in quality of narrative solo experiences, expand multiplayer offerings with increased frequency of content release, introduce free-to-play touchpoints, and integrate more social features. Yeah, I don't know what angle you'd like to tackle this from first, Richie. Assassin's Creed comes out, they make loads of money, and then they announce this off the back of it. Do you think are they waiting for the financial year to end? Were they waiting for Assassin's Creed to make big money before doing it? It seems very suspicious that they drop this literally within the same week of Shadows launching.
Possibly. I have no idea.
What's their goal
Assassin's
here?
Creed is. I think the whole point of the restructure is because he's now under a different subsidiary.
Mm-hmm.
Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six, which are their big hitters financially, are being separated from the other stuff. So I actually think this is a good move from a gamer point of view, because it means the Assassin's Creed isn't hanging a shadow over the rest of their IP. So things like that are not expected to do as well as, say, an Assassin's Creed, and now technically in a different company as part of the Ubisoft family.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to things like shareholders and investors and stuff, if you're really just interested in the big bucks and you don't care about it, you can go for this new subsidiary. If you're more interested, which probably gives Ubisoft, I'm hoping, more license to have more creativity in their other games, because there's less
wider pressure.
Yeah, if you're just an investment banker who knows nothing about video games and you're looking at the potential of new Splinter Cell, and you're going, will this sell as much as Assassin's Creed Valhalla? And Easyone goes, well, no, of course not. Then they go like, well, why are you doing it then? It's costing as much.
Yeah.
That's where I'm trying to get to, is where now that investment bank is not looking at Splinter Cell, doesn't give a fuck, it's over there. Doesn't own shares in that part of the company.
Yeah,
I think it's that kind of move, which probably could be good.
It feels to me like asset stripping, which, because Tencent have a quarter of a stake in this, it strikes me as Tencent didn't want to buy the whole meal, so they're just picking the bits they want in negotiation behind the scenes. And eventually they're going to up their stakes. And before you know it, Tencent are going to own Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. And whatever the remnants of Ubisoft are left floundering with The Crew, Just Dance, and some other things.
Can I just point out, for weird things just happened, we're talking about a Ubisoft story here, and I took the optimistic and you took the pessimistic view.
My pessimism comes from Tencent more than anything.
It still counts.
It does. But yeah, I guess it can't help but cast a light, not a shadow, on franchises that don't get moved over. Like, you must think the teams who are currently working on like the Splinter Cell game or Massive, who've just obviously wrapped up on Star Wars Outlaws, and they're probably hard at work on the new Division game now fully. Are they just like, are we not as important to you? Like, the Division did great numbers for Ubisoft. It's one of the most popular multiplayer games ever. That doesn't get to go with Rainbow Six, even though they're both Tom Clancy IP.
Probably because Heartlands was shut down and Division 2 is pretty much on its last legs. And that's not a new thing. So it's like what the Division 3 looks like. How far is in development is a big question mark.
But would it impact that? They've said no jobs are at risk or anything in line with this. It said they're going to excel. It's going to help. Yves Guillemot says, today Ubisoft is opening a new chapter in its history. As we accelerate the company's transformation, this is a foundational step in changing Ubisoft's operating model that will enable us to be more agile and ambitious. We're focused on building strong game ecosystems designed to become evergreen, growing high-performing brands and creating new IPs powered by cutting-edge and emerging technologies. It's
emerging technologies always concerns me because there's either NFTs or AI.
Well, they've tried NFTs. Remember, they've tried NFTs.
Yeah, they'll keep trying. If they think they can get away with it, they'll try again.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel like they needed to get this announcement in before the 1st of April?
Possibly, yeah. I think there might have been, depending on when the financial year is, I think this is probably an announcement. They've sent out Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's doing well. Let's get this announcement. Yeah. It's almost like it's the politics move where you go, oh, something bad's happened. Look at the bad thing. Look at the bad thing. While you get through a few bills that not people are going to be happy about. Mm-hmm. It feels like a bit one of them moves. It's like everyone's having fun playing Assassin's Creed. It's doing well. So now we do potentially make the potential controversial move.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to imagine their stock's higher than it's been in a long time after Shadows released.
I don't know. I'm going to have a quick look.
You would hope, wouldn't you?
Stock.
The biggest IP franchise ever. It must have gone up. And usually buyouts and stuff do increase shares because there's all of a sudden a sense of optimism and cash injection from new parties.
Okay, so Ubisoft Entertainment stocks.
Or is it split now? Do you need to look for two? They haven't even. They haven't even named.
Noticeable.
That seems.
Yeah, today it's been climbing since mid-February, but it's kind of stabilized a bit. Since Wednesday, it's actually falling. There's no
Shadows was last Thursday, so the 21st, 22nd, can't remember.
At least at the moment. In the EU, Ubisoft Entertainment SA, there's nothing notable that Google's saying. Yeah. So there's no notable spike.
Oh, well. But yeah, it's interesting that they've done this without like naming the subsidiary. Does it get its own name, or is it just like part of the company but under like a different internal code name?
It might not have one yet.
Yeah. It definitely seems like it's happened fast. But yeah, I guess the future of these franchises is technically secured. But we'll have to wait and see. Like, do we hear of like a Splinter Cell games now cancelled, or the sell off the assets, the strip the assets, the lesser known ones maybe to smaller companies? Does Embracer Group get back in the game and come and buy stuff, or does Tencent just gobble it all up over the coming years? But it seems, Ubisoft still a little bit at odds, even in the wake of Assassin's Creed's success. Speaking of success, Richie, the PlayStation Plus membership seem to be having a great month this year. There was an article that just came out stating that there's about $450 worth of games have already dropped onto the platform. Considering we're only in March, still that's a decent value return in terms of like RRP price to what you're getting included. We've also got PlayStation Plus games, the claimable games for the month of April coming up as well, and there's some decent ones in there. One specifically for me and a lot of our audience, actually. These are all claimable and playable from the 1st of April. But kicking things off, we are getting RoboCop Rogue City on PS5, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on PS5, PS4, and Hacker's Memory on PlayStation 4. So overall, terrible month, but the one that stands out for me is, of course, RoboCop Rogue City. It's
I don't think it's terrible. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, isn't it like one of them asymmetric multiplayer games, which is a bit like Dead by Daylight kind of thing?
Yeah,
that was quite fun.
To
RoboCop Rogue City is a solid AA.
Yeah,
I don't care about Digimon Story, Cyber Sleuth, Hacker's Memory.
Yeah, I think it would be terrible if RoboCop hadn't done so well, like traditionally, because it would just be that standard AA one. But when it came out, it reviewed so well. It's getting DLC support coming later on this year, and I think it just caught everybody off by surprise.
It's definitely weaker than last month, which had Dragon Age Veilguard, Sonic Colors, and
100%.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
that's a fucking month.
That was a cracking month. Yeah, and Dragon Age alone added a good like £50 worth of value, I would say.
Yeah, if not more.
Yeah. But RoboCop, the thing that annoys me is like this game, when it came out, I was like, I want that, but I'm not going to pay. I think it came out like £50 or something. So like a decent price for like a AA game, sorry. And then, it came down. I think I bought it on, I want to say a Black Friday last year for probably like a massively reduced amount, like £17-18 or something.
You were about to say you haven't played it yet.
Haven't played it yet. It's sat there in its box, down there, ready to be played. And alas, it's now part of PlayStation Plus. But you know what? Like, it's both good and bad. Imagine if I'd bought...
support the developer?
Yeah, I did. Imagine if I'd bought Dragon Age as well. I'd have been shafted 2 months in a row on like a top AAA game. But yeah, I haven't played it yet. It's still...
Dragon Age should be on my list of games to play eventually.
Still just there. But shout out to Nacon who make it, because they did Terminator Rise of the Resistance, what's it called? I can't remember. The Terminator game. Again, similar vein, did really, really well. Praised it for its aesthetics, the sound, the detail, the attention to detail that reflected the movies. And then RoboCops came out, the exact same thing. Praised for its detail, looks just like the game. You have the weight of RoboCop moving around and just really leaning into that 80s nostalgia. What do they tackle next for you? Like, it's got to be another 80s franchise. I'm thinking Predator.
So, isn't the rights with Predator already with other people, aren't they?
Possibly. But I mean, if they're just doing one-off 80s movies, what would you want from the 80s? Starship Troopers, that's already got a couple of games recently. Yeah. I think that like typical gritty Paul Verhoeven style. Total Recall. Could they do something cool with Total Recall? Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger running around, goes to get your ass to Mars.
My brain went to Blade Runner.
Blade Runner, that's a good shout. I'm surprised that's not been leaned on more in terms of like we've got all the cyberpunk aesthetics hot now.
And we know a guy who can do a good Harrison Ford voice.
We do. In Indiana Jones himself.
This is where Troy Baker just becomes the new Harrison Ford voice actor.
I think that's a shoo-in. If they do any kind of like Han Solo animated shows, maybe not live action, but if they do like a Clone Wars spin-off. Yeah. With like a young Solo or an older one, he could just do justice. But yeah, so wanted to shout that out just because RoboCop's very popular on people's lists, and now you can go claim it for free. One thing you won't be able to claim in the future, though, is Hogwarts Legacy Definitive Edition, because the powers that be over at Warner Brothers have decided once again to do something bad, and they've very much cast the killing curse on what's been in the works for quite some time, a Hogwarts Legacy Definitive Edition, which according to Jason Schreier from Bloomberg, that and the DLC cancellation comes part of the ongoing restructuring at the entertainment company's video game unit. The project was officially cancelled last week due to concerns that the amount of content was not substantially enough to justify the price that was being considered. Here's an idea, just make it cheaper. If the price doesn't justify it, bring the price down rather than scrap the whole thing. Either way, Insider Gaming exclusively reported on the development of Hogwarts Legacy Definitive Edition back in October. The new version was scheduled to include up to 10 or 15 hours worth of additional content, including new stories, side quest activities, and outfits. In addition, it was going to come with the game plus the DLC and be sold separately or like as an upgrade pathway for people who already own the game. But now, no forward content is planned as they push forward with presumably Hogwarts Legacy 2 as a fully fledged sequel. Richie, over to you. Was this already too late? This game came out March 2022 when my daughter was born, and she's now 2. So are we almost at a point where it's like you've kind of missed the boat a little bit?
Well, if it came out in February 2023, but
yes, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's 2025. Yeah, 2.
I think it is. I don't think it being a bit late is a problem. I do think it's the lack of purpose. What was the purpose of Definitive Edition? When they
because it won awards, right?
Yeah, but what?
Just too late. Like Game of the Year editions, like we never got one of them because they were working on the Switch port.
Did they ever actually have any DLC for the game?
Other than patches where they added like a couple of things in here and there.
Cosmetic stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're very light on DLC, what's the point? Just sell the game in the DLC and you'll be fine. For me, if you're going to do a definitive edition, it's because you've got something
definitive to put in.
Yeah, that's concrete. That wasn't packaged with the original game that you want to put in there. So I'm guessing because when you read the reports, it suggests that they were working on new content for the game to make a definitive edition. It feels like they're putting the horse before the cart. It's like, we want to do a definitive edition, so now you have to make some new content so we can justify it. Rather than going, oh, we have this game, we have this awesome content, let's rebundle it into something that's easier to market and sell.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think they are better off just focusing on Hogwarts Legacy too.
Yeah.
No one's going to miss this.
Nope.
Because you can just buy the game. It's awesome. Go play it.
Yeah, really, really is. But it feels like I played that such a lifetime ago now. It's I'm just moved on. Like, I'll be totally thrilled when they announce the next one. I'll probably pick it up day one. But for now, I'm like, yeah, that game was so long ago for me. It's like, without anything massive, I was never going back to it.
It's like Tales of Arise when that brought out the DLC like 2 years after the game came out. I was like, I'm not interested in this anymore. I've moved on. Like, give me the next Tales of Arise game, not DLC.
Yeah, absolutely. But either way, we shall move on. 10 points to the first Berserker Kazan as reviews are coming in for this brand new RPG. Wanted to just get this one in here, Richie, just purely because it's not really in our wheelhouse, I don't think. It was revealed at the Game Awards. We've seen quite a lot of it. It looks really gorgeous. It's got that kind of like anime Final Fantasy, I would probably say. But yeah, reading some reviews. Do you want to pick us up with a few of the Metacritics?
At the moment, it's like sitting at a 79 on both Xbox Series X and PlayStation. There's some higher scores in there, some pushing into the 90s. Mainly, I must admit, from outlets I'm not familiar with.
I think it's still early. I actually think it's today it goes live, so I think the embargo has caught us a little bit off guard for recording.
Yeah, IGN and Kotaku have not scored it yet. At the time of recording. Push Squares give it a 60. I feel it's in that low 80s, high 70s, low 80s kind of era where I'm expecting the game to fall. But it's a Souls-like game, and I'm just not interested in them. So I don't really have much to say about it, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it's one of them where if it was just a regular action game, our audience know fine too well. But it's what I like to see, though. It's where you're getting like new IP, new developers kind of putting games out, and I know there's that Souls-like influence is almost like crippled the games industry to a degree where everyone's striving for these games, and they do traditionally sell well. But it almost makes you feel like you don't need to do much in terms of really story or anything. You just need to just make, as long as the combat has a boss fight that's hard to grind and a little bit of an open world to explore.
I think that might be giving them a bit disservice. I think they do tend to go quite interesting in the story, which I always think for me is a shame because it's the gameplay I don't like.
Yeah.
But things like Elden Ring looks like amazing. Lies of P. Very interesting world to explore, but I don't enjoy the gameplay.
Yeah.
So that's where they fall down for me.
Yeah, if you like the type of game, IGN Italia gave it a 7.5, heavily inspired by Demon's Souls and Neo. The first Berserker Kazan may lack depth in its narrative and feels somewhat uninspired in terms of level design, but it still leaves a mark thanks to its great combat system and some fantastic boss fights. So yeah, ultimately sounds right. And as you allude to, Push Square said it's a good time. It's aesthetically different from the typical ARPG Souls-like we've seen and became used to. Its brilliant boss fights are engaging throughout and they entice you through the levels, but it does start to feel boring about the midway point. Its lackluster story and bloated, inconsistent mechanics hinder what could have been a better game if it was more refined. So, yeah, about 7 seems about the right in the middle of the road.
It's a fine game in the genre.
Yeah. Absolutely. But moving on to some cloud gaming news, we got an interesting sign of life this week from the guys and the team over at Amazon Luna, which we don't talk about as much on the channel because there's not many games to talk about. But yeah, they surprised us this week by announcing from the Luna blog, from our friend Chris Leggett over there, said Amazon Luna welcomes a growing library of EA's most popular games, including Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Star Wars Fallen Order, and Dead Space, available today. Additionally, Luna is now also available in Sweden, Portugal, Belgium, and Luxembourg. So it looks like Amazon have reached a multi-year agreement with the lead publisher Electronic Arts, bringing many of the fan-favourite games to the platform, especially starting off with the aforementioned titles to Star Wars and Dead Space, also coming available to Luna Plus subscribers, which if you recall is kind of their base level subscription model that you get. They go on to say that our teams are focused on building experiences that entertain and engage with those communities. We're excited to partner up. Richie, more countries, more players. The clouds are still very much alive and a big publisher on board.
Yeah, EA is a good get. It's a shame they haven't got Amazon games in there yet. Still holding out for that one. But yeah, no, EA, you can't go wrong with EA in terms of it's one of the biggest publishers in the world. So now they've got Ubisoft, they've got EA. Mm-hmm. They're making ground.
They are, slowly but surely. And this is what we've said and what we always critique Stadia for was the games. I think and we always said, even in like the lackluster time where they didn't get everything day one, as long as they kept chipping away and building that library, we said eventually, with every game that you add, you start to become a better prospect for potential consumers because the library's bigger, there's more there, people can find it. And they've done great strides. If you recall, you can link your accounts to GOG now to play PC games. You can play Ubisoft games through the PC browser. They do get big games. Remember, Assassin's Creed Shadows just came to Luna. So you can play that title as well. And I think the controllers are discounted right now as an introductory price for the new countries that have been added. So you can pick a Luna controller up for about €45, give or take. And
I think it's one of them. If you miss the initial boom that might like sweep you into like the stratosphere, then you have to switch to playing the long game, which might mean that you just have to keep, which is where Google weren't willing to do, so they stopped throwing money at it. Amazon feels like as long as it's not costing them too much money, we'll keep it ticking over, and occasionally these multiple year deals will get forged, and every time they do, it becomes a stronger prospect.
Absolutely. And I'll read a direct quote from Mustafa Hakim, who's the general manager of Amazon Luna in the blog. He says, Luna is committed to making games easier, more fun, affordable, and accessible for everyone. We have an exciting year ahead of us, and we look forward to sharing more soon.
Sounds good to me.
Good stuff. It's more stuff than Phil Harrison ever said. Let's be frank. Let's be frank. Did you actually see this week? I'm not sure. You know, Raccoon Logic, I want to say they're called, the developers who grew out of the team that made Savage Planet. Jenny the Savage Planet. Yeah, it was those guys. And then they got disbanded and they reformed as Raccoon Logic. Their new game, which they're making, which I'm not sure if it's a sequel or not to Jenny the Savage Planet. Apparently, the main boss in it is called Harrison. Read into that as you see fit. But
to be fair, they were kind of fucked over because they were 100%. Bought and then just went, no, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, they did get shafted. The only good thing Google did to them was they allowed them to take their IP with them when they disbanded. Yeah.
What was the game that got announced on Stadia? Then the next day, Stadia announced it was closing.
It was Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels.
The Hot Wheels one. It went to Pro, didn't it? We played it on stream like that day, and then it was like, oh well, that's it, done, finished. But that's not going to happen with the wonderful team over at Amazon Luna. So yeah, go check it out, and I hope our new friends in Sweden, Portugal, Belgium, and Luxembourg welcome. Bienvenue. Moving on, Richie, we've got some quick stories to wrap up with. Funnily enough, actually, a quick Stadia one we'll throw in there as we wind down the show. The Stadia logo popped up at a hotel in Dublin this week, very close to Google's Irish offices, where, of course, they stay and live and avoid tax every year. But yeah, basically, in an elevator in the hotel, they had kind of, you know, when hotels host like events in the conference room, they put up like just A4 printed posters and signs and stuff like that. This one basically pointed out it was MyCom Stadia, some kind of conference going on. And a couple of people on Reddit were like, oh, is this like covert Stadia team? Is it what's going on? Does it still live and thrive behind the scenes at Google? My interpretation, sorry if I can speak, of this is someone who was tasked to basically make a quick scheduling poster to stick up in the lifts and on the front, Googled stadiums or Stadia, and they've just copied and pasted it straight across, thinking it's like a MyCom event at the Stadia, because I think MyCom it was covering the Six Nations football, so it was to do with rugby.
So I'm reading from their website, oddly enough, their French website, because that's what came up. They had the top 14 semi-finals in Lyon, a rugby event, the Grand Departure from Lille, the Tour de France event, Premier League Liverpool FC. Yeah, there seem to be round stadiums and stadiums, like they're involved very much with France rugby.
Mm-hmm.
They've got their own logo.
Yeah. It does still make me wonder to this day, like, surely they didn't just ditch all the tech. Like, you can't... I know they were going white label initially, which Amazon Luna have also announced that they're looking into doing, but you got to imagine there's got to be some people there who are keeping tabs on all that tech, like that millions and millions of dollars worth of investment in tech. There must be one or two employees who are still pondering around behind the scenes going like, are we using this for anything? Are we rechanneling the server blades to something different?
I feel like the data farms that they were using for Google Stadia have been probably repurposed to other things by now, unfortunately.
Absolutely. It's been a long, long time. Moving on, though, to some quick ones. We also got the announcement this week that Xbox are launching a Backbone-themed controller. Now, Richie, I know your Razer Kishi love shines through every time we record on this show. Any thoughts on we've got a PlayStation branded Backbone. I used to own one. I sold it because I got a Portal, so I had no reason for it anymore. Any particular interest in this green translucent Xbox One?
Not really. I think it does look nice. I do like the translucent. I do like translucent making a comeback. I still think they're massively overpriced. Mm-hmm. I've not used the Backbone, so I'm not going to comment on the quality and the feel of them. That's one of the things I don't like about the Kishi. I think it feels cheap, and so, but I do think for a controller, anything over 50 quid that is for something like this, you're making. I'm not well interested in. But my main issues with Backbone and Kishi is I don't think my phone's a big enough screen. It's an okay solution.
Yeah.
For you when you're on the go and don't have anything else, but then it's also an expensive solution. So it's my interest in these devices is just minimal.
Yeah,
if it was down to about the 30 quid mark, 30, 40 quid, I might be interested, but it's closer to 100.
Yeah, it's one of them things where it is a cool piece of tech, but I think you're right. Beholden to what the actual output is, I think for us, especially as gamers who've got have the luxury of having all the hardware, the big screen and stuff. Yeah, I love the fact that it's got the Xbox button. I love the color palette they've gone with. I think the translucencies, it always shines when it comes to nerdy tech that you can see all the innards ticking away. And yeah, it like you said, it's that use case thing where if all you have is a mobile phone and you maybe want to do a bit of gaming on the go, I can totally see. I have a Samsung S25 Ultra, and I think I remember my 23 Ultra in the past really, really struggled to clip into them just because of how much it's stretched out. It's very much catered for the slightly smaller phone, but then, again, by proxy, you've got a smaller screen, and it always puts the borders up, and it doesn't quite ratio correctly.
I've got a Pixel 6a at the moment, which is about the same size as my old Pixel 4 XL, oddly enough. And I always found the experience was the screen was too small.
Yeah, seeing text and stuff.
and that I'm not using a tiny phone, so I just found that experience uncomfortable. And then they're charging quite a premium, I think.
Yeah.
And there's no cool features like in there. It's not like if you compare this to the DualSense, that's the sort of price you're talking about. In fact, it's more expensive than the DualSense, but you're getting significantly less controller.
Yeah. You could pay double and get a Portal.
Yeah, and I think you're better off paying double and getting the Portal. Although if you're on playing only an Xbox, and you can't because Microsoft haven't announced something like that.
Maybe hold out until the handheld, just in case. Speaking of holding out, our next quick story of the week is CD Projekt Red have shared Witcher and Cyberpunk project updates, and they also announced a partnership with mobile studio Scopely. And if you remember Scopely, they're the people who just sucked up Niantic's Pokemon Go and all the other little mobile games there for what, $3.6 billion did we quote last week or the week before? So yeah, Scopely digging deep into Western IP and projects. It seems reasonable to assume that the next mobile game that they're going to work in partnership with is going to be a Witcher or Cyberpunk game, but we won't know for sure for quite some time yet. They also give an update saying that they're ticking over in the games, they're doing some adjustments, they're focusing on the Witcher spin-off Project Sirius, which recall was rebooted a few years back, still is in pre-production, but they do say they've now merged developers together to basically make a more connected Project Red team to ensure better alignment and scope in the direction of all projects. Additionally, if you recall, CD Projekt Witcher 1 remake was also announced. I forgot about that actually, October 2022, as part of the studio's development roadmap. It's still in the concept phase, so you ain't getting that anytime soon. And the project is due to production process dependencies related to assets and technology. So it sounds like the remake is depending on maybe The Witcher 4. So whoever's the main team's working on The Witcher 4, when they finish like a asset, they just copy and paste it over to the one remake team and go, any use for this? Can you utilize this? Yes, you can. Great. Save it to that folder.
It could also be like things like game engine and stuff. I feel like the Witcher team's focuses for the Witcher remake will be the big focus after that.
Yeah. Well, they've jumped from the Red Engine, right? Witcher 4 is Unreal. So it's the first time they've got away from the proprietary tech.
But they might be doing like work on both, but I think Witcher remake is probably deprioritized.
Yeah. They've also got Cyberpunk sequel known as Project Orion. Apparently that's nearing the end of its concept phase and will be entering pre-production in the coming weeks. Additionally, the new studio's IP, which they also said they're working on aside from their main two pillars, known as Project Hadar, at present continues to progress over the last couple of years, becoming more detailed, but internal assumptions and ideas have been forging into the main pillars to guide us forward, and the team's focus on further developing this IP and the game story whilst prototyping some gameplay solutions. So again, it sounds like everything bar The Witcher 4 is pretty much in very early stages still, which even though CD Projekt have become a bigger team, and the finances have balanced out and everything after launch, I think it still seems like Witcher 4 is their main focus, and then they'll probably branch out into everything else after that. Probably expected 2027, 26, are you feeling? Next year or the year after? We have a trailer, but it was very CGI heavy.
I feel like 2026 is ambitious. So I'd go 2027 for Witcher 4. But it feels like they're trying to increase the pipeline a bit. So maybe maybe say 2027 for Witcher 4, 28 for Cyberpunk, 29 for Witcher remake.
Yeah. Oh, that's so far
They try to maybe get on. Yeah, I know, trying to get a bit more of a cadence going.
Yeah.
Which is probably what they're trying to do with Cyberpunk, but it didn't go well at first.
Yeah, absolutely. And then some final quick ones again, folks. We've got Prince of Persia Lost Crown coming to mobile next month. So if you enjoyed the game, if you picked it up on PlayStation Plus earlier this year, hey ho, you can enjoy it on mobile now as the 2.5D Metroidvania jumps across on the 14th of April. In a weird side story as well, Microsoft and PlayStation's first-party studio team up for probably the most random live service crossover I've ever seen. Destiny 2 comes to Sea of Thieves. Sony and Microsoft are playing well together, and they've joined forces for Rare's Sea of Thieves as it's landed itself some Destiny 2 skins. Eyes up pirates, face your destiny, and strike back.
Yeah, it's cosmetics only, so.
But it's still quite random, right? Like you couldn't really get any further apart, could you, than a sci-fi shooter in the future or pirates? A cartoon pirates as well. Not even like similar art styles. I mean, I'm not adverse to it. I think it's cool.
I wonder if this has come from with Sea of Thieves doing really well on PlayStation. Conversations happen. Oh, what PlayStation IP can we get? It's only like they probably might have talked about Uncharted, Last of Us. You can have Destiny 2. Xbox are like, but we kind of almost owned Bungie. Did they actually own Bungie in the past, Microsoft?
No, they did Halo for them, didn't they? It was Epic and them.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Epic was Gears. No, sorry, it was Bungie.
Yeah, they did. 2007, Microsoft Game Studios.
Sorry, they didn't originally. They did buy them. Then Bungie went independent again and then got bought by PlayStation after declaring they wanted to stay independent. Now look at them, all working in tandem together. But again, it just goes back to that's the world we're in now, right? They're all getting along. They're all playing games. They're all making money together. Win-win, like pirates used to. And then our final story of the week is the Legend of Zelda movie has landed its release date, and it's quite far away still. It's been announced by Sony Pictures. Talking about playing well together. Sony Pictures, who are producing and publishing this movie. It's going to make its debut on March 26th, 2 years from today. So you got a 2-year wait.
The big news about this is, yes, Sony are involved. However, Miyamoto, the creator of Zelda, is one of the executive producers and is heavily involved. Nintendo are doing most of the financing themselves. I think it's more Sony involved for distribution.
Yeah. Nintendo don't really have an arm in that business.
The director has been talking how, because a lot of people, when you talk about a Zelda movie, probably will go, prefer it to be animated, probably in the style of Studio Ghibli. That feels like such a match made in heaven. The director said it's going to be live action, but he's viewing it as a live action version of what a Studio Ghibli film could be.
Mm-hmm.
So he's taking this very traditional Japanese animated style and converting that to live action with a Zelda thing on. It could be absolutely atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be amazing. I literally have no idea.
Yeah, I'm on the lesser side of things again. I just think live action, it's like it has the risk of looking so pantomime-y, like the outfits in the world. But
I'm very surprised we've got a release date. Not a release yet. We're not talking, this is coming out in 2027. The 26th of March, 2027.
Yeah, we have Sonic 3 and Marvel planned 10 years in advance, so...
We don't know when Pokemon ZA is coming out this year, but we do know when the Zelda movie is coming out in 2 years.
That's the difference between movies and games, though, isn't it? The pipelines and stuff are so different and, I guess, fixed. They'll have, like, X amount of months to shoot, X amount of months for reshoots, and then all the editing stuff, they get, like, a year to do it or something. But speaking of editing, that's what we have to do when we round up this show, and that's been it for this week's news stories in the video game world. Thank you very much for tuning in, but before we wrap up, we always like to end each show with a look back in history at the games that made us, Richie. This day in video game history, we go back to March 28th at the time of recording. Any good ones that you'd like to pick out for this particular day? So,
there's a few games I've not played that I feel like I need to mention, like the Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 2 both came out on this day, 23 years and 19 years ago, respectively.
Ooh,
huge titles. Never played them. Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, 14 years ago on the PSP. I actually own that game on Steam. Never played it. That's what's jumping out at me on the 28th. What about yourself?
Nothing on the 28th. I'd say the 29th, Parasite Eve for the original PlayStation, 27 years ago in 1998. RuneScape.
You're about to feel very old. 24 years ago RuneScape came out.
RuneScape. Yeah, that's going to make it feel. 2001. What else have we got? A couple of Dynasty Warriors games have dropped traditionally, and then we'll go one more day in the future for March 30th. There we go. That's a good shot. The original Resident Evil, or Biohazard, as it was known in Japan at the time, 29 years ago. That's right. The Resident Evil franchise is almost 30 years old. 1996.
That feels like an old game. However, Final Fantasy 15 feels like a fairly recent game. That was 9 years ago.
Jeez. Well, that's video games, folks, and that's the history of them. Just like this episode will now also become history. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching episode 85 of the GamerGuild Podcast, episode 456 in total. Mine has been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We'll see you next week, folks. Remember, play whatever makes you the happiest. Goodbye and have a great week.
Bye.